I lost 20 pounds and managed to keep it off in my 50s. So I know that losing weight is hard. And this whole thing started when I was sitting in my doctor's office one day, and she told me that my blood pressure was going up and that losing weight might help. So this was highly motivating to me. I had been trying to lose weight for years, probably since I was a teenager. I had been trying to lose weight, going up and going down, going up and down. Nothing really worked. But my doctor told me that losing weight would help me to maintain my blood pressure. So today I'm going to share exactly what I did, how I ate to lose 20 pounds in my 50s, and also what I'm doing now to keep it off. So, as I said, losing weight is hard. And I didn't want to go on any drastic diets because I knew that this had to be a lifestyle change. It was not going to be another quick fix, another diet. This had to be a complete change in how I approached eating. So, a couple things before I get into exactly what I ate. I aimed to lose weight slowly. I aimed for maybe losing 1 to 2 pounds a week. I wanted to not really be super hungry at any point, so I allowed myself 4 to 5 small meals a day. And I also wanted to eat an anti-inflammatory diet because, hey, I was in menopause, and we know that inflammation goes up in menopause. And also I was following the basic principles of the DASH diet, which means simply dietary approaches to stopping hypertension. So I was using those 3 things as my guidelines. So without any further ado, let me start by telling you what I ate every day to lose weight. So as I said, I didn't cut out anything. I basically went by the principle of just eating smaller meals, smaller portions per meal. So first thing in the morning, I would start with drinking a big glass of water. So I didn't really add anything to it. I didn't add lime juice or lemon or anything, but I know that some people do, and that is actually recommended for some people, adding a little lime juice or lemon juice to your water. So I just basically had some water. And then, of course, I'm a coffee addict. So I had to have my coffee, and I did have coffee with oat milk. And I'm just going to share my favorite brand of oat milk. It is Minor Figures. It is the best tasting oat milk that I've found, and I have tried them all. So I use this oat milk in place of any kind of milk any other kind of milk that I would drink. So after coffee, I would go and teach my class. I wouldn't really eat again for another half an hour, which again is not necessarily ideal because if you're going to work out, you want to be eating something. But I'm telling you what I did like 10 years ago to lose 20 pounds. So I would have my breakfast right after I worked out. And I used to do a lot of smoothies. I used to do smoothies, fruit smoothies, which would have things like bananas, blueberries, oats. I always put oats in my smoothies. Sometimes I would put vegetables like cucumber, or I would put parsley sometimes. Yes, that actually tastes pretty good. So you can put vegetables in your smoothies. But I liked a fairly creamy smoothie, so I'd also put that same oat milk in my smoothie. So for breakfast, often I would do smoothies, as fruit smoothies with oats and sometimes with vegetables. So I'm telling you what I used to do, not necessarily what I do now, because I know with the emphasis on protein and getting enough protein, it probably is to add protein to your breakfast. And also, smoothies are not necessarily the best idea either, because when you do a smoothie, you're basically eliminating all of the fiber out of your drink, out of an apple and grapes, or you would be getting a lot more fiber than if you just mix them up into a smoothie. At the time, I was doing a lot of smoothies because it was easy. Quite frankly, it's easy. Other than smoothies, I would do toast with some type of proteins and sardines, or toast and hummus. I love hummus. My husband makes an awesome hummus. I will share the link if anybody wants to know his hummus recipe. But generally speaking, it would be toast and sardines, toast and hummus, and that would be what my breakfast would be. And again, I really do actually like sardines. This is the brand I eat most of the time, and this one is actually boneless. So if you don't like the bones in sardines, you can get boneless sardines. Sardines are really great for you, full of omega-3s, anti-inflammatory. I personally think that you should be eating them with the bones because that's where you're probably getting more calcium from the bones. So that was pretty much my breakfast. It was a pretty small breakfast. As I said, I aimed for 4 to 5 small meals for the day. So the next meal I would have would be a snack, not really a meal, more of a snack. I would have fruits. I would have, well, maybe one fruit. I would have a handful or two of nuts, but I definitely would have a snack in between breakfast and lunch. And then for lunch, I would have, again, I try to have a fairly balanced lunch, but not a big, huge meal. But I definitely would have some protein. I would have some carbohydrates, a complex carb, and I would have lots of salad or some type of vegetable. So one of my rules of thumb is that for lunch and dinner, half your plate salad or half your plate vegetables. So that could be any kind of salad, any kind of vegetables, but you want to have half your plate have some type of vegetable in it. And then for protein, again, I would have chicken, fish. I was predominantly plant-based, so I would have lots of bean dishes, lentils, lots of different kinds of soups as well for lunch. So that was kind of what I did pretty much every day. Some type of protein, some type of complex carb, and some type of big salad. Again, not a huge meal, smaller portions than I had been used to, but I definitely did have a fairly balanced lunch. And then for my afternoon snack, I do have a sweet tooth, so I would want to have some cookies, maybe just 2, not a lot, not a whole pack. So I didn't completely cut out sugar, and I would generally have a cup of tea in the afternoon. And then for dinner, dinner would be more or less the same thing as I had for lunch, but probably smaller amount. So it would be a smaller dinner, but similar to lunch. So big salad, but also with some type of protein and some type of complex carb. And that was basically what I ate. That's what I ate for the whole time. As I mentioned in a previous video, it took me quite a long time to lose the 20 pounds, 2 years to be exact, but I just kept at it and I kept my meals small. I kept my portion sizes small. I monitored what I ate pretty much every day, and I monitored my weight using a digital scale pretty much every day, and I just watched my weight. Sometimes I would go up a little bit, sometimes I would go down, but if I saw myself going up, I would just cut back a little bit and maybe make the meals a little smaller. So I never cut out anything completely. I was never starving myself. I didn't go on any kind of detox. I just basically tried to eat balanced meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, but fairly small portions. So if you have any questions about this, if you want me to share any exact recipes for what I did specifically, please let me know in the chat, and let me know if this is resonating with you. Let me know if you had a similar approach, or maybe what works for you when it comes to losing weight over 50. So just to give you a couple more tips, I want to talk to you a little bit more about some things that really help me. So water, really important to stay hydrated throughout your day. It depends. How much water you drink really depends on your lifestyle, how much you exercise, how much you sweat, all of that. We know the general rule of thumb is 8 glasses a day, but I like to say it really depends on what your lifestyle is. But it's seriously important to get enough water throughout your day. As we get older, we tend to not be as thirsty as we were when we were younger, and you can get water lots of different ways. You can get water from teas, even from coffee, from certain fruits, but important to drink enough water. And it does help sometimes to drink water before you're eating so that you're not quite as hungry. It does help to kind of fill you up. So drink lots of water. That would be my first tip. A second tip is that after dinner, it definitely also helped me to brush my teeth. Right after I finished eating dinner, I would brush my teeth, and that kind of took away the desire to eat again after dinner because I didn't want to have to brush my teeth again. So brushing my teeth after dinner definitely helped me to not want to eat again, even if I kind of felt a little bit hungry, because sometimes at night I would feel a little hungry depending on how early or how late I would eat. I tried to not eat dinner after 7 o'clock. So maybe by 10 o'clock, I was feeling a little hungry, but I just would, if I was really, really, really hungry, I would have, a small snack, crackers or a fruit or some type of nuts. And then I would have to obviously brush my teeth again, which I didn't really want to do. So that is my second tip. Brushing your teeth after dinner helps. Again, third tip. I didn't cut out anything. Although if I was to do this again, I would probably have cut out alcohol. So alcohol is not your friend if you're trying to lose weight. Lots of just useless calories in alcohol. But I didn't, for me, it's a lifestyle change. And I'd like to be able to go out and have a drink, have a beer, have some wine, whatever. And cutting out alcohol just, was not going to be sustainable for my life. So I did not cut out alcohol when I was drinking or when I was really trying to lose weight. But if I had to do it again, I probably would have. So if I had to do it again, I probably would have cut out alcohol. And then the last tip is to just give yourself some grace. If you find yourself going up one day, don't beat yourself up. Don't get really upset about it. Tomorrow's a new day. Just try and do better tomorrow. That's what I did. If I really overate one day, I would just say, hey, I ate too much last night or yesterday. And so I'm just going to try again tomorrow. And maybe I ate a little bit less the next day. So when it comes to maintenance, keeping the weight off, because a lot of times, we lose weight, but then keeping it off is also can be a struggle. It can be a challenge to keep off the weight. If you're not careful, it can really creep right back on. I've seen so many people lose weight, mostly by doing, detoxes or quick weight loss diets. And trust me when I tell you, diets do not work. Diets don't work. It has to be a lifestyle change if you really want to keep off your weight. So for me, key to maintaining my weight loss is really pretty much doing the same things that I was doing before, following the same principles that I was following before, primarily plant-based, anti-inflammatory diet, so eating lots of anti-inflammatory foods, following the principles of the DASH diet, and I have a video about that as well. And again, just watching portion sizes, keeping my portions pretty small, and weighing myself on a regular basis so that if I see myself going up, I just really try and do better the next day. And I think the nighttime eating is really what is, I want to say, kind of tricky. Eating too late at night can really sabotage your weight loss efforts. So that is pretty much how I maintain my weight loss. Obviously, exercise is important. Exercise is important just for general health, not so much for losing weight, although it does play a factor. But there are a lot of people who think that if you just increase exercise and eat the same way, you will lose weight. And as they say, you can't out-exercise a bad diet. So for me, losing weight really boils down to what you're eating and not so much about how much exercise you're doing, although both are important. So I think that's really what I wanted to share. I'm gonna answer some questions that were sent to me. So if you have any questions about what I have shared so far, please just drop it in the chat and I will answer your questions. So the first question is, did you count calories or count macros? So I gotta say, I didn't really count calories. I had a general idea of how many calories were in one of my meals, but I didn't count calories for how much every little thing was going to be, how many calories were in this piece of bread or that piece of potato. I really didn't count calories. I just followed my principles, small portions, having a balanced meal, and I just looked and see, and I just tracked the outcome, because tracking calories was just going to be way too much work. Tracking calories was just going to be way too much work. And tracking, same thing for tracking macros. And as I said, I wanted to be able to eat the foods that I wanted to eat. So no, I didn't count calories. I didn't count macros. I just followed my principles. Small portions, 4 or 5 meals a day, lots of vegetables, fruits, and making sure I got enough protein. So if I was to do it again now, I would probably have upped my protein at all my meals, because we know that, depending on your weight, you need to be getting enough protein, especially if you're postmenopause. So I probably would have added more protein to all of my meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, to make sure that I was getting enough protein, which is kind of more what I do now. So that is important. Second question, did I cut out carbs and sugar completely? As I said, nope, I did not cut out carbs. I did not cut out sugar. I didn't even cut out simple carbs. Honestly, I did not cut out simple carbs, although I really tried to minimize simple carbs. I really tried to minimize sugar. So I didn't eat a lot of sugary stuff. I didn't eat a lot of breads and pastas and crackers and processed foods, because, that's really not helpful if you're going to be, if you're trying to lose weight. But I didn't cut it out completely, but I did try and keep it really low, keep the amount of sugar and simple carbs that I ate pretty low. So that's the answer to that question. Okay, third question. What did you eat when you were busy or did not feel like cooking? So I am probably the laziest chef in the world. I do not particularly like to cook. So I don't, I can't say that I spend a lot of time cooking. But when I was feeling lazy, didn't want to cook, as I said, I usually had hummus in my fridge. So I would have, hummus with vegetables, or hummus with rice cakes, or sometimes I would allow myself some crackers, or even putting hummus on toast for a snack. So generally speaking, that's what I did. I did not, I would cook maybe once or twice a week, or maybe 3 times. And then hopefully that lasted for the week. So, but I did not spend a lot of time cooking. It was mainly salads. And then I would add protein to the salads, some type of beans, lentils, chickpeas. I love chickpeas. So this one is the low sodium chickpeas, because if you are hypertensive, you definitely want to be watching your sodium. And actually, I add lots of garlic. Lots of garlic to pretty much all my meals, because again, garlic is one of those things that's really great for your health in lots of different ways. So that's what I did. All right, 2 more questions. Did I follow this every single day or allow for flexibility? Got to be flexible, have to absolutely be flexible. I did not follow this every single day. I did my best to follow the principles every single day, but many times, my plan would just go out the window, or it's do well for breakfast and lunch, and then I'd go out to dinner, and, you just kind of go out to dinner, because you got to enjoy your life, right? You got to enjoy your life. And eating for me is fun. It's enjoyment. So I was pretty flexible, but I did try and stick to my principles as much as possible. Okay. Last question. Would this work for somebody in menopause or post-menopause? Absolutely. This is what I call a post-menopause weight maintenance or weight loss. I don't want to call it diet, because as I said, diets don't work, but a way of eating. So it is a post-menopause weight loss or weight maintenance way of eating, focusing on anti-inflammatory foods, focusing on getting enough protein, focusing on, well, for me, following the principles of the DASH diet to help to manage my blood pressure. But it is definitely appropriate for a woman in menopause if you stick to the principles. everybody's different. You kind of have to modify it for yourself, but this is exactly how I ate to lose 20 pounds and to keep it off. I'm now 61 and I'm pretty much the same weight that I was then, although I have gained a lot of muscle because I did really focus. I am really focusing on increasing my muscle mass, doing more strength training, which has made me gain muscle. So I have gained back some pounds, but I'm pretty sure they're muscle because other than that, I'm more or less the same. I mean, I go up and down a few pounds, to be honest, but I have managed to keep off most of the weight that I have lost. So I hope this helps. Please let me know if you have questions. I hope this has been useful. Please let me know if you found this useful and if you want me to talk about this again. And if there are no questions, I will see you again soon. Thanks for joining and thanks for listening. And if this is helpful, please remember to subscribe to my channel. I also have a menopause self-care toolkit, which I'll leave the link to below. So see you again soon.